This is my 2011 Nissan Frontier Pro-4x. It came from the factory with this roof rack, which is too tall for most cab-over style campers. In order to accommodate my new Topo Toppers Mesa pop-up camper, I had to delete the roof rack. The rack is mounted to the roof with 16 Torx head bolts. The correct size Torx driver is included with the Frontier's tire changing kit. You'll want to go at this carefully. The bolts screw into nuts that are welded to the underside of the roof, and I've heard stories of those welds breaking off when trying to remove the bolts, which would then require a considerably bigger hassle of dropping the headliner. So I went at these slowly and gently. I had to use a wrench on the handle of the driver to get enough torque. Some bolts came out easy, but most were pretty stubborn. I was able to get them all loose without having any of the weld nuts break. Okay, that's number 16 of 16. With the 16 bolts removed, the rack lifts right off. After 12 years, it was definitely a mess underneath, and this was not easy to clean. I ended up resorting to abrasive scratch polishing compound, and I still never got this perfect, but then nothing on my truck is perfect. With the rack removed, I now had 16 holes in the roof of my truck. I had thought about trying to fabricate my own ultra-low profile rack using the bolt holes, but at my DIY skill level, it wasn't going to be straightforward to match the curve of the roof. I also considered repurposing the 4 bases of the factory roof rack in order to reestablish a good seal over those holes, but they're just hollow plastic and I just couldn't see a good way to build a rack off of them. Short on time before my scheduled trip to California for the camper install, I decided to just plug the holes. The original bolts won't work because they are elongated to pass through the factory rack bases. So I got shorter stainless steel bolts and neoprene washers, which was the recommendation of the guy at the hardware store, who happened to also own a sailboat and had first-hand experience with trying to weatherproof various holes. I painted the bolt heads black to make them less visible. I do feel the bolt plus neoprene washers effectively sealed the bolt holes themselves, but the construction here is a little odd as the bolt holes are in a layer of metal that is below the roof sheet metal, and it's really kind of impossible to tell what's going on in between there. But I ran out of time to mess with it further, so I drove to California like this to get my camper. Camping my way back home, I was pounded by rain and discovered that I did have quite a bit of water coming in between that sandwich metal. Facing more months of incessant Western Oregon rain, I needed a quick solution. I experimented with just glooping some silicone on there, but I wasn't able to do it very cleanly, so I used painter's tape to mask off little squares around each bolt before applying the silicone. While far from beautiful, this was definitely tidier than when I didn't mask it, and it created sort of a little silicone cap over each opening. It wasn't as easy to do under the cab over of the camper, but I was able to cap those with silicone as well. This did successfully stop the water from coming in, and from normal viewing height and distance, it's not really noticeable. Now, I'm not saying this is the right way to do this. This is just what I did. I'm sure there's probably a better way. Comment below if you have any questions about what I did or suggestions for how you might go about sealing these weird holes. And thank you for watching.